I want to dedicate this song to my dad. When you're weary, feeling small, when tears are in your eyes, I will dry them all. I'm on your side. When times get rough and friends just can't be found, like a bridge over troubled water, I will lay me down like a bridge over troubled water. I will lay me down. When you're down and out, when you're on the street, when evening falls so hard, I will comfort you. I'll take your part. When darkness comes and pain is all around, like a bridge over troubled water, I will lay me down like a bridge over troubled water. I will lay me down. Sail on, silver girl, sail on by. Your time has come to shine. All your dreams are on their way. See how they shine. If you need a friend, I'm sailing right behind, like a bridge over troubled water. I will ease your mind, like a bridge over troubled water. I will ease your mind. I will ease your
I hope Joe Ticker really appreciates that. I have 3 daughters, and I'm delighted to tell you that one of them is here today with us, sitting next to Karen. Audrey and Preston, would you just stand up for a minute? They got married about 3 weeks ago, so. This presentation is a reminder to me of all of the fathering that goes on A lot of times it's because we have, as fathers, children, and sometimes it's because we choose to father. And this honors every circumstance that fathering occurs in. Whether you're a man or a woman, fathering goes on all the time. So for the moms out there, just I hope you'll think about your dad and see if you can hear some of him and some of the principles that we're going to talk about. Last year, I spoke about the science of mind interpretation of 3 very basic guideposts. 1, have a plan. 2, keep your eyes on the road. 3, listen to the people that love you. And I admitted that I had a little bit of an ego problem with the 3rd. For some reason, the ego has a very strong survival instinct, and it knows that if we start to truly listen to love, real love, that we will soon soften to the idea of oneness. And the ego then would lose its grip on us. We come to believe, and we're taught, mostly by our societal mores, that we are all in competition and we're all separate. And that to win the prize, you got to get there first. And so sometimes if you got to knock down a weak one, go ahead, because we can justify almost any behavior with that idea. I think, though, that consciousness, as it's evolving, through our children, we're learning that it's actually a more beautiful thing as individuals coming together, working together. That's to be held up over the individual success. Collaboration. The children, I think, always give us an opportunity to rethink our beliefs. And the privilege of fathering is to evolve our consciousness and to help our children to step to a higher level of understanding that all life is interdependent and nothing stands still. And as fathers, we have a responsibility to help our children to seek their own beliefs based on their own truth. I remember a lot of times watching the 3 girls go through their growing pains that I just really hurt. I wanted to be able to help them to just knock out that obstacle. But I chose not to. I allowed them to go through the process of finding their way through. Because I know that life is really all about finding our own God space. We can explain some things that we know are helpful for them to really look inside and stop worrying about all of the outside influences. Give them some ideas about how to create a more balanced approach to life. Particularly like remembering the childlike imagination that we had that allows us to see more clearly into our divine center. But this isn't a path that can be clearly described or pointed out. It's more like a fog that has lots of hazards, and it must be negotiated. And the fog I think of as ego and our sense of separateness and our indoctrination. And the only way out is this inward journey. And when we go there, we start to unravel some false beliefs. And we know that those have been keeping us prisoners. So my biggest aha moment as a father was to, at various times, real strategically, I'd tell my one daughter at a time, I'd say, not everything I told you is true. Not everything I taught makes any sense at all. And in fact, a lot of what I told the three girls was really gibberish. But, it's not like I did it on purpose. It was what I thought I knew. I don't know, some of it was from ego, some of it was from societal kinds of thinking and standards that I just mindlessly pressed onto them. And some generational confusion, I think, that said, this is just what we believe. But I now understand that it has to be true for them. And that's what I tell them. It only works for them if it's true for them. And I'm not on any kind of guilt trip about it. I just know that a fair amount of what I told them made sense, and it was the best that I understood. And it had some good value. But we must all come to know our own truth and evolve our own consciousness. And I know it sounds like, okay, so what's the point? If you all have to go through every one of these experiences and we really can't save anybody any time, why not just kind of pass? Well, I think that's wrong. I think we all stand on the shoulders of those that came before us, all of our ancestors. And it's up to us to do the best that we can to represent the best truth that we've come to know. And each and every one of us improves that truth through those young ones that we teach. And it's about living a good life. And the fact that we're going to make mistakes doesn't stop us from taking our shot. We get to imprint on these young minds the best ideas that we have. And that's what happened to us. Whether we're proud of what we learned as little ones or not, that's what happened to us. People that loved us tried. But I just want to remind each and every father or anyone that's involved in fathering, at some point, remind your child that not everything you're telling them is right. And that's okay. Science of Mind teaches us to practice the spiritual principles that lead to remembering that we are of the divine. Our best means of passing this on to our children is to model it. Modeling peace of mind looks like a person that likes themselves. It looks like a person who's happy with their lot in life and grateful for everything. Yes, we continually strive to make it better for our families, but we are blessed with our abundance right where we stand. And that prayer is always a moment of gratitude. When we model a prosperity consciousness, it looks a lot like a balanced life with enough of everything. Love, time, health, money, creativity, peace. Nothing's lacking. A child that grows up listening to that and watching that modeled has a great chance of living a wonderful life. So, a little deeper in Science of Mind principles. When we're at odds with our wife or our children's mother, we have to accept that we're part of the negative energy that's going on. And I'm going to say something provocative, and that is, no one and nothing has ever upset you. No one and nothing has ever upset you. All of our upsets are of our own making. They are born of our unfulfilled expectations, of our thwarted intentions, and of our undelivered communications. And we could talk about that for a long time. But we do create them all, and we have to have the courage to take responsibility for our part of that. And it suggests every time that we experience that negative energy, it's telling us something. And in the inward look at what we just felt, we'll uncover something that doesn't work for us. And we've got to release it. The next step in this awakening process is to learn not to resist what is. This is a very deep spiritual practice. How does it work? When you completely accept what is, you simply allow it. You don't resist. And by not resisting, you're completely balanced to respond. No negative energy gets in the way. You have all the creativity and the positive energy that your divine center provides to help you find and receive the gifts that are there for you at that moment. And you get to stay in this eternal moment when you get there. Everybody, if you would, read with me these words of Eckhart Tolle. Surrender is yielding to rather than resisting the flow of life. The only place you can experience the flow of life is the now. So to surrender is accept the present moment unconditionally and without reservation. It is to relinquish inner resistance to what is. Ever since I read those words, I have been practicing presence. And I know how hard it is to do, and I know how hard it is to keep doing. But I would like to suggest that if you will embark on that journey, you will experience some astounding things. And from a fathering perspective, you are amazed at how your energy changes and how much more patience you have. And your children see it. And your spouse and your friends will see it. But your children will know how important they are to you. I love talking about this because through this community, I have personally, my wife and I, and many of our friends in the community, I've watched how we really truly come through these practices to love ourselves and to live in gratitude for this gift of life. And then we get to raise these new people. Our children, we get to watch as they come to their fruition, their full adulthood. And the whole message here is to take every opportunity to explore inner stuff and to learn when energy is triggered. Because every encounter in life is a teacher when we are present to this moment. And this life is about growing and experiencing joy and pain and being grateful for all of it. You are a father, and the way you lead your life will always impact the future through your children. So live it well. Thank you. Now you're really going to enjoy Michael. Michael Brundy.
Hey guys, good morning. I'm not near as disciplined as Jeff, so I can't stand behind that podium. I have to get out and move around a little bit. And I think Jeff and I make a good tag team because he softens you guys up for me. And I think that's just great. Last year, I talked about the importance of stepfathers because I'm a stepfather. And I've had a whole lot of men who are really important in my life. But today, I want to talk to you about my father. That's my father, Joseph Willis Brundy, Jr. And that's my father with his children and his father and all of us. So as you can tell, I'm Joe's boy. And I'm kind of proud of being Joe's boy. That's my dad. So now you know what my dad looks like. Now, this is what my dad would sound like. Michael! Michael! Hey, Michael, the game's on. Come on downstairs and watch the game. Come on down and sit down here right now. That's what it sounded like. And it wasn't really an invitation. It was more of a demand. Get down here right now and watch this game. Now, for me, since I was Joe's boy and I was my dad's first son, that was kind of cool. Because my dad's a product of his generation, and my dad is all man, which meant that if you're his son, you have to be all boy. And that meant when the baseball game comes on, who else is he going to call? But first son, Michael. So I got to come watch the games. Now, Dad used games to teach me about life, okay? If you have been keeping up with our Book of the Month by Dan Million, he talks about purpose, and one of the first purposes is to learn the lessons of life. Well, my father was key in teaching me those lessons of life. He knew that I was going to have some tough times, and I would need somebody to serve as my bridge over those troubled waters to get me through. So he used sports, and this is one of my first remembrances.
There's a long drive, way back in center field, way back, it is gone! Willie Mays just brought this crowd to its feet with a catch, which must have been an optical illusion to a lot of people.
That was Willie Mays. Great catch. First game of the World Series, 1954. Now, I'd like to think that I really remember that, but I was really kind of young in 1954. So I probably just really remember seeing the reruns. But that's what it was like to be watching TV, watching sports with my dad, because I was Joe's boy. Now, when I started really thinking about this, as we get older, we have a different view. And I would encourage you guys to look at your parents differently as you get older, because now you can see them through different eyes. So I thought when I was younger, it was just Dad demanding that I come and watch that darn game. And now as I look at it a little differently, back then in the early 50s, TV would have been something new for my dad. It would have been like a new gadget, sort of like the internet is for us. Just like we get excited about new tablets and new notebooks and new iPhones and those kind of things. I'm sure Dad was excited about that. Imagine, he'd been watching baseball listening to baseball on the radio all his life. And now he can actually see the game. And on top of that, he can even see the instant replay. That had to be a really big deal technologically for my dad. The other thing is that anybody, Linda Jones, you back there, I see you. Anybody who's my age and Linda's age will probably remember the days back when anytime anybody black came on TV, if anybody black showed up on TV, we'd all run inside the house and we'd all go watch TV, right? We would be right there, and that was in the 60s doing that. So I know that in the 50s, for my dad to see black ball players playing on TV, that had to be a really big deal. And that was a good reason to say, Michael, come sit down and watch the game. The other thing, too, is that, the world was changing back in the 50s. And I'm from Kansas, and Brown versus Board of Education had just been declared. So now we were past separate but equal, and now society was changing. And my dad was living in that kind of world, and I'm sure he didn't know what kind of world I was going to get, but he had to still prepare me for what was coming next. And he had no clue. So my dad found a way, and his way was through sports. With my dad, I can never remember a time when my dad was not at work, okay? He worked 3 jobs and found time to still spend 40 years in the military. How he did that, I don't have a clue. And when I was younger, on the weekends were his. And when it was time to watch baseball, he darn sure was not going to be in church. He was going to be watching the game. I think my dad knew that there were many paths to God, and he chose sports to be the path. And he used that to teach me those lessons of life. So when a game was on, and I didn't have to go to church, and I could sit and watch the game with Dad, that was a good day. And my dad he was kind of picky, you know. He wouldn't just say, watch the game. We had to be there before the game and after the game to hear all the commentary, because to Dad, that was important, all that back talk that they would have. Now we call it the backstory, but he would give me all of those stories, and those stories would be the stories that would inspire me and help me be successful. He used to tell me about old ball players from the old Negro League. When I was 12, my dad took me to Kansas City to see the Kansas City A's play, and Satchel Paige was pitching. Satchel was 60 years old by then, and he pitched 3 innings of shutout baseball for the pros. And I got a chance to learn a lot about life from those sports. See, my dad had already taught me with that Willie Mays catch and those kind of catches that anything was possible. Anything was possible. Never give up on the play. Never give up on life. You never know what's going to happen next. You make your own breaks. That's what he was teaching me. With people like Satchel Paige, he was teaching me that, you know, it's good to be good at your sport. And it's okay to be a little confident about knowing your stuff. A little arrogant. But at the same time, don't get so arrogant to think that you can just do it all by yourself. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Satchel Paige, but Satchel Paige was known to be the greatest pitcher of all time, okay? He was one of those who was not only a great pitcher, but a great philosopher, and he was a great entertainer. He would do all kinds of things. He had his own plane, so he would fly around to different games, and he would barnstorm and play with all kinds of players. Well, my dad used this story to tell me about the importance of teamwork, okay? One day they were having a baseball game, and Satchel Paige played for the Kansas City Monarchs, okay? The Kansas City Monarchs were in Pittsburgh, and they were playing the Homestead Braves that day. Now, Satch was always a showman, and Satch would do stuff like tell the outfielders to all come in and sit in the dugout while he pitched. Or he'd have all the infielders sit down while he pitched, okay? And this particular day, he's facing Josh Gibson, and he tells the whole team, the outfielders, the infielders, go sit in the dugout. I got this. Can you imagine that? Now, right there, Dad had given me already enough of a lesson to tell me the importance of teams. The importance of having other people in your life, people to back you up and support you. But what happened was, Josh was at the plate. Satch throws the first pitch. And Satch has all kinds of crazy pitches. He has a hesitation pitch, okay? He has weird curveballs. But he threw that first fastball, and Josh swung it. Boom. Strike one. Josh got ready. Satch threw the second pitch right by him. Strike two. Here comes the third pitch. Satch throws it. Josh connects and hits that ball as hard as he can, and that ball starts taking off. And it goes up and up and up and up, up and up, and it never comes down. Now that's a home run hitter. Now, if you hadn't heard of Josh Gibson, you may not have known that he was that kind of a hitter, but Josh Gibson was known as being the black Babe Ruth, and Babe Ruth is known as being the white Josh Gibson. He was that good of a hitter. So when he hit the ball, it just didn't come down. But it also points out that it's important to have folks behind you. It's important to have a team. You can't be a pitcher and be out there all by yourself. And the same thing is going to be true with us. You can't make it alone. We need each other. That's why we're here in community. Well, let me tell you the rest of that story, though. The next day, the Homestead Braves had went from Pittsburgh. Now they're playing in Philadelphia, and they're playing the Philadelphia Clowns. It's the third inning, and all of a sudden, a ball drops out of the sky. The center fielder catches him. We call Josh out. Dad used those kinds of stories to get my attention, and also to teach me powerful, important lessons. You can't make it alone. It's important to be a team. It's important to be a community. We are all one. If you look at a team, it doesn't matter how many individuals are on that team. It's just one team. And Dad used those times to also give me history lessons and inform me and let me know that I shouldn't just always fall for the okie doke. You know, people will tell you all kinds of stuff. And people will tell you things like, Jackie Robinson integrated baseball in 1946. No, not true, not true. Dad let me know that back in 1888, black people were playing professional baseball. It wasn't until 1896 when all of a sudden we came up with separate but equal that the owners decided, there wasn't any kind of law, the owners decided that there wouldn't be any black ball players in the major leagues. But in semi-pro teams, they were playing together. Even the professionals would play together in the summer, and they would all play. If you can't see this picture very well, but this picture right here is a picture that came from 1935, okay? 1935, that's an integrated baseball team, okay, with black and white players on it. You can't see it, but in the middle, back in the back row, is Satchel Paige. And there's a white guy named Martin who has his arm across Satchel's shoulder, showing that we're all here together, how we work as a team. If you happen to see the movie 42 and saw Jackie Robinson, then you saw one of my favorite heroes, Pee Wee Reese, do the exact same thing when he came out to Jackie and put his arm around him. It was a way of showing that we're all together. We're all in this as one. We're all one team. That's the lesson that the dad was teaching me. That it's a lot more important for us to even cooperate than us to compete. We're all here together. Now, with my dad, you know, he just, one story would never be enough. So there would be tons of stories, okay? And now he's already told me that things are possible because you can catch that fly ball. You can do whatever's important. You can play on a team and not just be an individual like Satch was trying to be. But then he also told me the most important lesson, and that is that it's about your attitude. See, I was a piece of work, and my father had a lot to do with making me grow up, okay? And one thing that he had to do was make sure that I knew that my attitude was important. I was a little tiny kid. I stood 4 foot 10.5 inches tall and weighed 81 pounds when I was at Southbourne High School, okay? If you want to know how big that is, that's about Ruth Bleeker's size, okay? You guys know that. So I wasn't very big, and I wasn't very, very good at sports. So my dad knew that my attitude, how I think, what I think up here, my thoughts would make a difference. Just the same thing that we learn in Science of Mind, that your thoughts are powerful. And my dad's thought was that I needed to make sure I hustled, and I had enthusiasm. And that's how that would show up, me hustling. Now, for his example about hustling, he used this guy named Cool Papa Bell. You guys ever heard of Cool Papa Bell? I met Cool Papa Bell when I was in St. Louis. His real name was James Bell. Now, he was a man who hustled. He ran fast, okay? Cool Papa Bell was so fast that they said that he could hit the light switch and be under the covers before the room got dark. That's fast, okay? Satchel Paige said that he was pitching to Cool Papa Bell one day, threw him a pitch, he hit a line drive, it flew past Satchel's ear, and hit Cool Papa Bell in the butt as he slid into second base. That is fast, okay? But the point is that it's your attitude, enthusiasm, which means God within. That's what makes the difference. That ability to hustle, to put forth that little bit of extra effort. And my dad knew that I would need to have those kind of lessons. My dad knew that the world was going to be different for me than it was for him. Things were going to be different. Technology was going to be different. Society was going to be different. The challenges that I faced were going to be different. So the lessons that I needed to know had to be different. And one of the lessons that he was teaching was the importance of having a good foundation. If you have a good foundation, it doesn't matter how things may or may not change. You'll know how to respond and you'll know how to react. My dad didn't know that later on I was going to be the only little black kid in an all-white school, and those lessons were going to make a difference. He didn't know that I was going to need to know how to be on a team and know how to succeed. I was a wrestler, okay? And let me tell you how it turned out to be a wrestler. Because I was so small that the basketball coach decided that I wasn't going to get a chance to play on the basketball team. And this time, Dad didn't go to bat for me and fight for me. This time, Dad said, well, now maybe you can go out for wrestling and you can pick on kids your own size instead of beating up your brothers and sisters. Now, that made sense as far as my brothers and sisters were concerned, but even the smallest wrestler was bigger than me. And I had to put to practice those same things that my dad had taught me. Just like around here, you just can't come to the classes, just can't get the sermon. You've got to actually put those things into practice. And that's what I had a chance to do. So my first year of wrestling, I lost every match. You hear me? Every match. It's like 15, 16 matches. I had some matches where I'd go out there and shake the guy's hand, get up 10 seconds later and shake it again. It'd be that quick. I mean, I was so bad that my family quit coming to see me. That's bad. But my second year, I learned what Dad was talking about as far as hustle and cause and effect, and I began to learn the moves and learn that if I took the time to learn the moves, to practice, I could get better. And my second year, I won as many as I lost. And when I changed my attitude and got positive about what I could do and believing that I could make a difference, my third year, I went to state. Hey, if it can work for me, it surely can work for you. It can work for all of us. My dad just had a great way of showing it, another way of teaching that lesson. But it's still the same lesson that we get from teacher every Sunday, the same lesson that we get from the classes that we take around here. It's the exact same lesson that you can do anything. Anything is possible. That we live in an abundant world, an abundant universe. We can work together and we can have all that we want because we are one. We're all here together. And our attitudes can make a big difference. Got it? I got it through sports. I got it through getting all these lessons from my dad, which are also good history lessons. But, you know, as you get older, your perspective changes. So I want you guys to think about how your perspective may have changed about your dad, how you may look at him now. Remember, anything is possible. Believe in yourself and hustle attitude. I found this other thing I want to share with you on Facebook. It's a cool little poster that kind of describes about how folks feel about dads. And as we age and grow, our feelings change. So at age 6, oh, Dad, I love you. At age 10, oh, Dad, whatever. By age 16, Dad is so annoying. Sounds right? By the time you get to 18, Dad, I want to leave this house. Any of y'all want to leave the house? By 25, Dad, you were right. My kid didn't get it at 25. But at 30, I want to go to my dad's house. And by 50, oh, I don't want to lose my dad. And I'm not 70 yet, but I really can relate to that last one. I would give up everything for my dad to be with me. And I would give up everything for my dad to be with me. I'm so grateful for those lessons that he taught me. Even though he didn't call it science of mind, it really was the exact same thing. Even though he found different ways to get me that information through funny stories, through sports, through history, it still was the exact same thing. And he found a way that connected with me, found a way that made a difference in my life, found a way to help me become the champion of my own life. And I'm sure the same thing is true with you. Go back and look at your fathers. Look at the fathering that you've done. They, of course, make mistakes. Nobody gets it all right. But if you put it into context, maybe you see it a little bit different. That's what I had to do. And now I look at those times that I spent with my dad, entirely different. Entirely different. Michael! Game's on. Let's watch some baseball. Thanks, folks. Join me in affirmative prayer. Let's pray. With closed eyes and bowed heads, we give thanks for this day. We give thanks for fathers. We give thanks for our fathers. We give thanks for the opportunity to be a father. We give thanks for that one that we call Father, that we call Divine Spirit, that we call love, divine intelligence. We understand that power, that Divine Spirit is in all of us. That Divine Spirit is omnipotent, it has all power. It's omnipresent, it's everywhere, and it's omnipotent. It knows everything. That power works in and through us as we believe. And we believe that we live in an abundant universe. We believe that everything that we want, we can have. If we speak the word, we can make it manifest. Because we believe these things, we know these things are true even before we say them, and so we say thank you. Because we are so grateful. We are so grateful for our lives, so grateful for our friends, so grateful for our community. On this day, we honor and we celebrate our fathers, whether they are here with us now, whether they're gone, whether they got it right or whether they got it wrong. We honor them. We celebrate them. We are so glad that we have them. If you agree with me, if you believe this, then affirm with me by saying, and so it is.